We're joined by Michiyo Ishida live in Tokyo. Michiyo, what can we expect from the state funeral later?
Hello. Well, I am in front of the Nippon Budokan where preparations are underway for the state funeral of Mr. Shinzo Abe. Well, the flow is this. Mr. Abe's ashes will leave his home with a salute of the Self-Defense Force. Upon arrival at the Nippon Budokan, there'll be funeral artillery salutes or fired 19 times, as is the custom at funerals of past prime ministers. Now, Chief Cabinet Secretary Hirokazu Matsuno will open the funeral. It will be followed by the national anthem, a minute of silence, and a video of Mr. Abe will be run. Now, after the video, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, who's the chair of the state funeral, will present his eulogy, and he will be followed by speakers of both houses of parliament, Supreme Court Justice, and representing friends of Mr. Abe will be former Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga presenting his eulogy. And there'll be messengers from Emperor Naruhito and Emperor Emeritus Akihito, who will pay respect to Mr. Abe. And they will be followed by the presentation of flowers by imperial members here at the venue. And it will be led by Crown Prince Akishino, his wife Kiko, and their daughter Kako. Now, after that, a presentation of flowers will be followed by Mr. Kishida, Mrs. Akie Abe, family, relatives, friends, and then foreign dignitaries. In all, 4,300 are expected to lay flowers for Mr. Shinzo Abe.
Michiyo, also lots of controversy surrounding Prime Minister Kishida's decision to hold a state funeral for Mr. Abe. What are the possible repercussions for the Japanese leader and his party?
Well, that time when Mr. Abe was shot and died, there were lots of sorrow, shock throughout Japan. And as it was during an election campaign, the support for the ruling Liberal Democratic Party shot up, and it was reflected in Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's approval rating. And Mr. Kishida, within 10 days after Mr. Abe's funeral, decided that he must hold a state funeral for Mr. Abe. Then there were developments. Well, it was discovered that Mr. Abe had links with the former Unification Church. Now, remember, the suspect, the assassin, said that he attacked Mr. Abe because he thought that Mr. Abe had links with the Unification Church. And his family has been troubled with his mother, a follower, giving lots of donations to the church, which the assassin said that destroyed his family welfare. Now, later, it was found that half of LDP lawmakers had some links with the Unification Church. So, because of this, support for the state funeral fell, and it was also reflected in Mr. Kishida's cabinet approval rating. Now, the Mainichi Shimbun's latest poll shows that only 29% give support for the Kishida cabinet, and there are more who disapprove of Mr. Abe's state funeral versus those who are for. And there's been many protests held, and there are analysts who are saying that Mr. Kishida should have held not a state funeral, but a joint cabinet LDP funeral, where the LDP and the cabinet would burden the cost rather than the taxpayers. So this was a mistake. But Mr. Kishida decided to push ahead, and we will see whether there will be any repercussions on Mr. Kishida's future as Prime Minister.
All right, thank you very much for that update. Michiyo Ishida live in Tokyo.